Ahead and get started with our February work session. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And Superintendent Hooker, if you don't mind doing roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley, Ms. Claudia Butts, Ms. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager.
Here.
Mr. Tim Denton.
He's on the phone.
Okay. Dr. Mumby Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant. Ms. Nicole Hull.
Here.
And Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, looks like we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda. We're going to start with the board president report. I just have a few informational items, just kind of reminders. We do have a now scheduled February 29th budget process discussion scheduled, and the calendar reminders should be in your inbox as we speak. And that is going to be not a discussion about the budget that's already been developed. So it's not a presentation of the budget, it's just a discussion for us to put forth what we think might be important to prioritize as they move forward with their budget making process. And so this is really an opportunity for us to provide some input. So I would encourage us to kind of plan and prepare and know what points that we want to focus on when we get here for that discussion. Do you all have any questions about that? Yes, Dr. Yeager?
Will we see the draft before the meeting, or we just come up with stuff out of the blue?
Mr. Griner.
Sorry. Ooh, it's got a lot of feedback. Dr. Yeager, it's just really more of an input session. Instead of presenting any numbers, it was really just to see like what y'all would like to prioritize in the budget, any suggestions you might like to see before we get more. Typically with like state QB, we'll have a better picture at the end of February. Property taxes is normally late March, early April. So it's really just more as we kind of develop the budget into March, like what y'all would like to see specifically. And then we can, as we go through the process and we'll kind of hash out, can we put that in this year or not? So that's kind of the whole purpose. We just thought it would be good to have an input session with y'all. So.
Yeah, and I think that this was actually something that we proposed to the district as something that we would like to see as they begin their budget development process. So yeah, this is really going to be board-led, this discussion. So let's be prepared.
I do have a question.
Oh, yes.
So is this encompassing initiatives or like staff positions? Is it just anything? Okay, just want to make sure. Thanks.
Yep, what you would like to see them focus on. Any other questions? Ms. Davis? Dr. Evans? Mr. Denson? Okay. March 16th is our retreat. The agenda is confirmed. So we have a full day that day together. And we will also incorporate the superintendent's mid-year evaluation into that meeting as well. So let's, again, come prepared to have those discussions. And we do have the first half of our first book club book to discuss. So we've got some reading to do as well, if you haven't already done that. And then we have until April to identify our delegate for the GSBA conference in June. If you all remember last year, Mr. Denson very graciously offered to be our delegate, and I do not remember who our alternate was. Was it you, Ms. Davis? Okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. If you all are open to doing that again, we are very happy to hand that off to you all again, or if you'd like for us to entertain having other delegates, we're open to that as well. Thoughts? Mr. Denson, what are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, I had him on mute.
Oh, he didn't, okay. Okay, well, we can take it offline.
This isn't hard work. I'm happy to go to Savannah.
Okay, I like it. Okay, awesome. All right, well, I'll reach out to Mr. Denson and see if he would like to be the delegate, and if not, you guys can maybe switch places, or we can find another alternate. All right. Thank you all so much for offering to do that, and I know it's a lengthy process, so we really appreciate that. And just a reminder that every month our agenda is available at least a week in advance, and we have a questions document so that the district can be prepared to answer the questions that we have. And that is all that I have for the board president report. Does anyone have anything that they would like to, any input they'd like to give? No, we're good? Awesome. Okay, let's move on to item number 4, information items / board community reports. The first being early Head Start policy, council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson, I believe you are our rep for that. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Denson or about what you read in the report? Dr. Yeager?
Oh, go ahead, you're first. I was just going to ask about it looks like we've dropped below 85% attendance on some. Isn't that a problem if we drop below 85, or is that just our own internal mark?
Ms. Kennedy, if you would step to the mic. Dr. Yeager has proposed a question concerning the attendance. You're talking about the attendance, correct? Dropping below 85.
We can't hear you, ma'am.
No.
I'm going to turn it on.
Yes, so attendance is a challenge for our families. We work very closely with Valerie Norwood, our social worker, and we meet every 2 weeks, and we've got a long list of families and students that are missing a large majority of classes for different reasons. And so we have family engagement literacy specialists, FELS, that also follow up with that. But yes, so attendance has been a challenge, really. My understanding is since COVID, like once we got through COVID, the attendance has been a challenge.
Is that at both centers?
Probably more at the east side than the west side. And thinking about our early Head Start and Head Start, they cannot use transportation. So we have families trying to use the transit bus. We have families that come in on Ubers, and if you can imagine how much that costs them to Uber in and Uber out every day. So the challenge is also with the families, with their economic level, having to provide the transportation and getting them back and forth. So those are the things that we work with Valerie Norwood.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that, too.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? All right, we will move forward with the Athens Community Career Academy report, and there isn't a report in there, so we will go ahead and move down to item C, Community Oversight Committee report.
The Oversight Committee has not met for February yet. We will be meeting on the 13th at the Career Academy, where we're going to, see some of the ESPLOST dollars at work by showing the committee the new, what's it? Not Killer Bistro. The Bistro, yeah, but I couldn't remember the name of it. It's like they got Yellow Jacket. That's right. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's why you're here. You make me look great. As far as projects go, everything seems to be on target. Clark Middle is still rapidly going. Cedar Shoals renovation is in phase 1. There are some upcoming projects like the HVAC upgrades at Gaines, Johnny Lay Burks, Betty Henderson, and Clark Central in Winterville. The Career Academy is getting a biomanufacturing lab, which is really kind of cool. There's a projector and whiteboard replacement in 15 of the schools, and then COIL and the Career Academy are going to be getting health clinics. So I'll have a more detailed report after the 13th.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Evans. Let's move forward. There was a brief note about the Athens Area Community Foundation from Ms. Hensley. I assume if you have any questions, we can maybe take it offline to get her to give us some clarity. But
I just
Yes.
wanted to ask a question about the community oversight report. I noticed that they show ESUM/School C as if it's like one thing. Those were two separate schools, and so is there a particular reason that we're showing them like they're one and the same?
I'm
Mr.
going to defer
Gilbert?
to John on that.
Okay. I just saw it on that report, so, yeah.
Population to see if we get increases in the event that we do have to construct those facilities. So that's why they're kind of lumped together, that we look at the student numbers, annually, every month, and also, several times a year, so.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want us to remember that there are two different physical, geographic areas that we're talking about, and so to put the slash kind of makes them seem like they're one and the same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
did anyone else have any questions about the COC notes? Okay. Sorry about that. Next up, we've got the Athens Area Community Foundation. If you do have questions for Ms. Hensley, you can take those offline. Envision Athens, there is no report, but Mr. Henson did have some conversations with, with the director of Envision Athens about them coming to do a presentation and proposed a March presentation. But there's been some discussion about our March meeting, so we'll get back with you all about when that will be scheduled once it's confirmed. And then we will move forward with our advisory board reports. Any questions, thoughts? Ms. Davis?
I don't know that this is a question. I was very, very excited about the Youth Advisory Council. That was to see the list of things that the children identified as priorities for them. That I will be using that list to come to the budget request meeting on the 29th, because there were some very exciting things in there, and it showed some insight that, again, having it validated by our children that are absolutely impacted by this every day, it was exhilarating, quite frankly, to read that. So thank you so much for having those sessions. And I wouldn't ask that you do it more frequently, but I do hope that we'll do something with their suggestions and their requests. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Anyone else have any thoughts, questions? Okay. All right, so let's move on to item 5, our facilities updates. We've got our ESPLOST monthly report.
I've got some good news to report. Yeah, we're making good progress on Clark Middle. Georgia Power is in the process of installing permanent power, so that's a major milestone for us. And the permanent switchgear was delivered to the site this week. So that was kind of one of the things we were concerned about, that if you don't have the switchgear, you won't have power to the facility. So we're on track with that, and everything's going good. If y'all could just do your anti-rain dance, that would help us out considerably. I'm going to show you some photos, and you'll see, if Alicia, if you could click on the CMS pics. So just from a progress standpoint, this is the front entrance looking out. A lot of the framing is done, and they're wrapping up a lot of the interior drywall framing work as well. Next one. This is looking back down the hallway, the main entrance hallway. So they're doing block filler. This is the cafetorium. Work's progressing in there, good. This is in the kitchen, the cooler freezer installation is going in. So again, that's another big component for that space. The exhaust hood for the kitchen cooking area has been installed. Again, just more things getting completed. This is the hallway outside of the media center. This is the media center construction. They're working on framing up all the openings and windows on the single-story building. The two-story building, this is just a corridor, kind of keep going. This is our mock-up room where we did the samples of the painting, a ceiling grid, light fixtures. There is temporary heat in the three-story building, so they're starting more with the finishes in that area. But these are just some snapshots of the outside. 95% or more of the windows are installed, so we're going to be able to really kind of focus on the finishes. Again, this is our back area. You can see the mud. That one lift is actually stuck up to its axles. So again, these are some of the challenges we're dealing with all this rain, but the contractor's working through it. The next thing on ESPLOST is the Cedar Shoals. If we go to the phasing plan, so phase 1 has begun. There's 3 slides here, and if you look at the main building, two-story building, and you divide it into quadrants, we are going to be, the area in yellow is in progress now. You'll see some photos of that. Then the area in blue will be done once school is out. We'll do that over the summer. And then the area that's in purple, once we get, or magenta, I guess, once you get that done, the other phases we'll be working on that as well. So we're going to be moving different parts and pieces around in the building. And this is the old Ag Science field house building, and this is the new graphics arts lab that we're putting back in there, and then renovating and expanding the Ag Science pathway or curriculum. And I think we've got some photos of this the cedar picks. Interior demolition is underway. Floor finishes coming up, ceiling grid coming out, light fixtures will be changed out to LEDs. And again, this is all, and we're going to take the PTAX out and put in the VRF heat pump system, so it's a lot better, more energy efficient system. And again, these are just some photos of the demo that's ongoing. As soon as you guys approve that first phase, they started the next day, so they're mobilized and on site. And again, this just shows you that area that it's pretty. I think we got about 19 photos. And they're underway in the Ag Science building too. I guess, Lisa, if you just want to kind of just scroll through this, gives them kind of a glimpse of the work that's going on.
Wow.
I think that's the old Ag Science area, revamping some restrooms as well. And then that last shot there is where Ag Science was. So it's been completely emptied out and gutted. And then the next slide is the contractor's laydown area. He'll be setting up some job trailers on site. And we're working with the personnel out at Cedar to make sure we separate contractors and students. Okay. And I guess, Lisa, the last thing on the ESPLOST report, attached is the audit, the ESPLOST audit. They do this every year, and if you look at, I think, the second paragraph, you'll see that there were no findings. So again, that's something, for 12 years since I've been here, we haven't had any findings from the audit and, clean audit. So that's and they're all posted on our website. That's a good thing. So we're spending the taxpayers' dollars as we're supposed to. Any questions?
What is going to be the capacity at Clark Middle when it's done?
1,200 students. So we have
an increase of 400?
yes.
Where are we getting them? It's okay.
Well, I think it's like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. So that's kind of.
Field of Dreams, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of thought so. Okay. I just know it's huge. I was there today, not at the school, but at the cemetery behind it, and I'm like, oh my God, it is so big.
When we did the original planning, we looked at building permits, population growth. This was probably 6 years ago, and so we were realizing that Hillsman we would make larger, on the east side, and then Clark Middle, we would make larger on the west side, just to capture that middle school growth that we anticipate, so.
Good location for a big one, but yeah, it's really big. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. We will move forward unless anyone has any questions. Nope, good. We will move forward to our facility updates.
Good evening, Board.
Hello.
Since the last time we met, we've come up with a few more items that we have gotten replaced. Transportation at the bus garage. If you've been down there, you see all the roll-up doors are always up and down, up and down. Whatever's outside gets inside. Cold, rain, heat, whatever. We've been struggling with those units for quite some time. We decided a replacement was in order. And instead of going back with heat pumps this time, we went back with natural gas. Those guys are smiling when it's cool outside because their building is now warm, even with the doors going up and going down. But that was a big ticket item for us. That was something that was important to us to get that done. At our board office at the gym, we've replaced one of the units that were, as the Piedmont guy told me as he was leaving, we abandoned that. We took all the parts and pieces off of this unit and put on this unit over here. We still have plans to replace the other one, but we now have a brand new air conditioning unit over in the gym here. That should aid in our programs that we have after hours. The update on the playgrounds, we finally have surpassed our 6-7 week build time. They are shipping. HB Stroud got the first ones installed, the very first ADA installed. We still have a few more schools. Barnett Shoals delivered last week. Going forward, we're kind of excited about getting the rest of the schools that we had from the summertime, getting their ADA equipment in, getting it landscaped properly, and getting them put in. We had talked last time about a new playground for Gaines Elementary School. It has been ordered. We are in about, I guess it's about week 1, maybe 2. I'm not sure exactly how their order system works, but we're still about 4 or 5 weeks out for delivery on that.
Ms. Hall?
So with the timeline on games, are we expecting them to have a new playground before the end of this academic year, or are they looking more towards enjoying that next academic year?
It should come rolling in probably and be installed very quickly. I would presume, and I don't want to get too far, out of the loop. I don't want to make a promise I can't keep.
Sure.
But the way it's tracking, it should be in and probably completed by the end of March, early April.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions?
I do want to thank Mr. Bailey and Mr. Gilbert for their presentation. And again, Mr. Gilbert, thank you. No findings in 12 years. That's very honorable. So thank you and your team for doing that. Mr. Bailey, thank you for this updated presentation. All right.
So I do have one question, probably for you, Mr. Gilbert. Are we going to use tankless water heaters in our new buildings?
We, in some of the applications, we can, where it makes sense. The field house, we have 2 tankless water heaters that we did at Cedar Shoals Field House. So it just depends on the application and size, things like that.
Okay, I want some feedback on that, but I'll follow up with you.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good point, because in the Sustainability Committee, we'll look at, those apparatuses to see if it makes sense, and how to do that, so.
Especially since we're going to natural gas. I get excited about that. Yeah, thank you.
One other thing on the operate facility updates is the HVAC for 5 of the schools that were identified as having issues is out for bid. We anticipate getting the bids back the end of this month, and then we'll bring it to you at the March meeting. So we're kind of on track trying to get we got those designed. They're out to bid. We have a pre-bid meeting next week, and then we'll get bids at the end of the month and bring that to you in March.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you all so much for those updates. We will move forward with policy updates. Some policies for board review for consideration are posted. Does anyone have any questions right now about the policies that are being proposed for discussion to move forward for adoption or discussion? Ms. Hull?
I did not see the code of conduct listed in this section. I know we have it in the consent agenda, but will we talk about whether or not there was any discussion from the public about the code of conduct?
It is on the agenda, so we can remove it from the consent agenda.
Oh, no. I didn't know if we would discuss it later, because I know it's in the consent agenda, and I don't mind it staying on the consent agenda, but since it's a policy, I didn't know if it would be appropriate to see if there was any feedback or discussion at this point, or pull it, whatever makes sense.
Okay. I would say let's hold off on that and then just kind of lump it into that same discussion with the code of conduct, just to be consistent. Is that okay? Okay. Were there any other questions about the proposed policies for review? Okay. All right. There were no future policies there are currently no future policies for review, but are there some that you all would like to see to have the district look over for review moving forward?
I have a list.
Okay, Ms. Davis? I'm sorry?
I have a list, it's just not with me.
Oh, okay, so no. Okay, gotcha. Anyone else have any future policies for discussion? I know, Ms. Hull, you were interested at some point in reviewing the tribunal process.
I was, and Lisa contacted me to get more information, and I completely dropped the ball with that. So I will be following up before I bring that back before the board.
Okay, wonderful. So then we'll look forward to that in a future meeting. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Wonderful. All right, so let's us move on to financial updates.
Good evening. Thanks, Dr. Anderson. You have before you the December 31st financials. It's hard to believe we're already 6 months into this year, talking about budget for next year. Still seeing the same trends. Actual revenues were a little over 143 million, about 1.8 ahead. We did have some more pickup in property taxes, just kind of, typically they kind of slow down, but we've had a little bit better month in January, so you'll see that in the January financials. So I think we're definitely on target with our property taxes. Actual expenditures, a little over 100 million, still about 3 million more. Keeping in mind that budgeted expenditures is based on historical trends, so there is some fluctuation in that, so no concerns there. At the end of December, had a fund balance of a little over 97 million. Budget was around 98.4. Again, that's the difference in the revenues and expenditures. We're still tracking towards an ending fund balance of around 53 million if we follow the same trends. So. You have the balance sheet with the fund balance projection. You can see where it's kind of trending back down to around 25% at the end of the year. And then on the revenue side, again, pretty much following in the expenditures. And there's a graphical representation of revenues. I think just Ms. Palmer, yeah, there you go. Again, kind of tracking, you can see the biggest month, of course, is October with our property taxes coming in. And then on the expenditure side, it's the next one. If you go down a little bit further, you'll kind of see, there we go. Question, and you can see the huge spike in June. So that was, actually had a question from a citizen actually sent in an email about that a couple of weeks ago asking, looking back through the board presentation, why is there such a large increase in June? Our teachers, our 190-day employees, are on a contract that starts August 1st and goes through July 31st. So for accounting purposes, we have to accrue that month of July because it's work performed in the previous year. So that's why June is so much larger. you look at July, it's a small expenditure because that expense is actually captured in June of the previous year. So if you ever were wondering, that's why there's a huge spike in June. So it's really picking up July's payroll because for accounting purposes, that's accrued back into June. So it all evens out in the end because July is so small, but I thought it was a good question and worth bringing up in here. So, and I'll be happy to answer. Dr. Anderson, you touched on the budget meetings. I was going to mention that as well. So on the 29th, and then we'll take that to cabinet in March, and then in April we'll have another call board meeting. What I've seen done in past districts is we actually use that as part of our training. So you'll get training hours for that budget session that y'all have to have. So Ms. Palmer and I thought that would be good just to have a separate meeting where we just focus on the budget. So when we were discussing kind of the timeline. So I'll be glad to answer any questions y'all might have.
All right, anyone have any questions? Thank you for offering that up as a professional development. I love efficiency, so let's do that.
Yeah, we thought it would be, and Dr. Hooker as well, just thought it would be good to focus like just on the budget that one evening where we just have where we can sit down and go through it before y'all have to vote in May and June on it. So, all right, thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Greiner. All right, we will move forward with our next item. Just give me 1 second here. So we have our business items for discussions for the consent agenda. And I'm just going to go down the list, and if you could audibly let me know if you'd like to pull something from the agenda. I won't ask for if you would like it to stay on the agenda. I would just ask if you want to pull it from the agenda. And if you want to pull it, just say yes, and then we can open the discussion. I think that will kind of help with my understanding of what's going on. All right, so item A, our January 11 work session and board meeting minutes, pull. All right. Item B, pre-K annual grant approve intent to apply.
Question?
Miss
Can I ask a
Miss
question?
Davis?
'Cause it can stay on consent. Is this the same one that we looked at last month, or is this different?
Ms. Skinner, this is a different grant. Am I correct in saying that?
I don't think I saw that, but that's okay. All right.
Okay, would
Thank
you
you.
like for it to stay in consent or pull?
I'm not going to see it between now and 10 minutes, so we're good.
Okay, we're good, okay. Item C, the student code of conduct.
Question?
Yes.
Just wanted to see, was there any public comment or feedback on this particular policy or our student code of conduct, I guess a regulation?
Ms. Barbazon, would you come to the mic and answer that question, please?
Good evening. Yes, we did have public comment on it, and we had feedback. We put out a survey, and we left it pretty open-ended, so we put all the different sections open and available for comment, and we had a decent amount of feedback.
And was that put, I know there's a draft, was that incorporated into the drafts and the edits that we see in Assembly?
What we put out for feedback and comment is the currently approved code of conduct for this 23-24 school year. So we said, as it stands right now, what are your comments that you have around this that would inform the edits and the changes to the draft that's up for board approval?
And my last question, and then I'll go away. I know in some of the, I know that the board has had some discussion about some of the wording of some of the rules in there. Was that just taken into account broadly in this current draft?
So of course, there's a couple of sections in the code of conduct, and I'm assuming you're talking about essentially the behavior incidents or those specific. So what we have, and districts do it differently across the state, but our code of conduct only includes specifically that outlines for parents are those state reportable offenses. The state reportable offenses, the ones that get logged into Infinite Campus and then get reported to the state, and the state tracks all that data. And many of those actually go into those school star climate ratings as well. So we can't modify those. And that's something we work with Mike Pruitt on, and we have our discipline committee. I will say that it's been an educational process with our discipline committee where we have all secondary schools represented. Our elementary schools are represented by feeder pattern cluster for the elementary clusters that feed into the middle schools. And in that process, we certainly sometimes receive administrator feedback that they would like to change those things, but we have to often explain that we can't create, for example, let's say if it's a particular, like I'll say like threat and intimidation, we can't make a severity level that isn't already in existence from the state. We can't change those state reportable categories. Some districts include more things in their code of conduct, but they just make it explicit for the community and the stakeholders that those additional localized way. Of course, we try to work with our schools through PBIS, through utilizing other non-exclusionary methods of behavior support and discipline, specifically to address those non-state reportable behavior infractions. You're welcome.
Other questions? Ms.
So
Davis?
is it thinner now? Or is it
Oh,
still?
thinner. I thought you said, is it dinner now?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this, we did work, so one piece of feedback stood out to me. This is just one item, but there were multiple pieces of feedback that said, this one in particular said, this reads like an accounting manual. So one of the big goals in this year's draft was to really try to make this something that a parent or a student could read, because we want students to advocate for themselves. We want parents to advocate for their students. That's going to be difficult for a parent to do if they're lost in a lot of wording that either is just not in parent-friendly language, and it's too either just school-based language and just stuff that we would talk about internally, but a parent wouldn't understand. We also want parents to understand more of what this means and how this applies to my student. And we also certainly made some updates that align with our current strategic plan. So just making sure, for example, we updated our vision, our beliefs, things like that. But we did try to streamline it a bit. But some sections, such as around searches, like searching a student, those things remain the same.
All right, Mr. Denson has a question. Mr. Denson?
Yes. So I would like to go ahead and have this pulled off consent so that we can vote on it separately. I am definitely interested in possibly delaying this till next month to vote on, so that we could have time for the public input from the survey and such. Could maybe be put into a synopsis that could be distributed to us for us to look over before we go ahead to vote on this. So I would like this pulled off consent.
Mr. Denson, can I ask for a point of clarification? You mean feedback to the board about the community feedback beyond what is currently in the agenda? There's a presentation on the community feedback in the current agenda. So you want more information about the community feedback?
So where was the presentation on the survey feedback?
So in the student code of conduct item, the first hyperlink is a PowerPoint presentation that summarizes maybe
It's
not
loading for me.
maybe it wasn't enough for you and you need more, but it summarized some of the community feedback. But it talked a lot about the process, but there were also a couple of slides that I noticed that they talked about the community feedback.
It was definitely a synopsis, for sure.
Mhm.
We tried to look at what were the themes that we saw, and, certainly eliminating some pieces that seemed, very specific. Because, of course, when you put something out there for pretty open feedback, you may get a parent that wants to share maybe something that's more experience-based. So we tried to look for things that were actually translated into things that we needed to consider around impact to drive the draft.
But if you all want more information about the community feedback, you're certainly welcome to ask for it. I just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are we under the time constraint, like we've got to get this done this month, or could it wait until March?
I know it typically goes up in February. Certainly that, I will say this, what the delay would then cause is really getting things moving forward with next steps around updating other things. And I know that there's other more specific policies and processes that have been expressed for interest to look at. You know, once the code of conduct is approved, then we can certainly move into looking at some of those other pieces and layers. And that will also drive the development of our training for administrators moving into next year in terms of updates and things like that. Does that make sense?
It makes sense that there are dependencies on its approval.
Right,
I get
right.
that. I'm just asking, is that absolutely essential that it be approved this month for those things to happen in a timely manner, or could this be delayed until March? And I'll tell you, I looked, and maybe I missed it because I had to get your permission to open up a document for me, because I usually access documents from my home computer, and I couldn't get to it. But so maybe I just missed it entirely, but I did not see the code of conduct, and so don't change it because I didn't get to see it, because I simply won't vote for it. But if we could move it to March, that would be very helpful.
And can I get some clarification? Mr. Denson, are you asking for feedback on the 2024-2025 Code of Conduct? Is that what you're asking for? The draft?
Mr. Denson?
To answer Dr. Hooker's, I think I'm on a slight delay here, so sorry, but to answer Dr. Hooker's question, I mean, I would like that. I was also under the perception that the survey that went out was getting feedback on the proposed draft. I did not realize that it was getting feedback on last year's code of conduct. But I understand that would be a massive delay at this point. So I mean, I would just more like to be able to see. I mean, I know there was the one slide that mentioned some things on that presentation, but I guess to see some more of some of the specific concerns and recommendations from parents and students and administrators on the code of conduct. I would just like to see some of that feedback before acting on this one, because I'm sure it's still relevant, obviously, to what this draft looks like.
So perhaps I can propose that, because I believe that we did this, if not last year, a couple of years ago. The board just asked for the spreadsheet of all of the community feedback, so that they could sort of go through it themselves and process it and see if the feelings of the community was captured in the new draft. So is that possible? And then we can vote on this in March after they've had an opportunity to digest that feedback. Does that sound fair?
Yes, that sounds.
We can provide the exact feedback that was given.
Ms. Palmer, if I'm not mistaken, can we have that to them tomorrow in the board update?
Mm-hmm. That's very easy to.
Yes, we can provide that to you in the board update.
Dr. Yeager?
So I have been a little confused about the feedback. Normally, if this is a policy, it goes out for public comment before we approve it as amended. So this is the amended version we're just seeing for the first time. Does it go out for public comment for the month anyway before we approve it? Or were we planning to approve it tonight? I'm confused about, doesn't the revised policy goes out for public comment and then gets approved if there are no additional comments?
Mr. Pruitt, I'm going to ask for your input on this as well. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. And that's
Yes, I may have done that to you by turning this one on.
in the past, what has been the process for this?
Well, it used to be, the code of conduct is a regulation in the policy manual, so you're right about that. In the past, though, there wasn't ever enough time to do that process. The reason being, Back when I was more involved in the process, there were usually always bills in the legislature that might affect, that might affect what we had to put or couldn't put in the code of conduct. And so we'd wait until the General Assembly session was open and closed, and sometimes until even the date for the governor to sign or veto had passed. And that would push you into May. And so then you would finish it as quick as you could after that date, bring it to the board for approval in June, try to get it published and out. So I don't know what the process is now.
So if I may, what I'm sensing is an opportunity for the draft to go out for public comment now, and then we have a month to get that public comment while the board is also digesting the feedback. So those things can happen in tandem. Thoughts?
We're happy to do that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have pulled the Student Code of Conduct, and we are tabling that to, I don't know if tabling is the appropriate word. Tabling it for March. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move. All right, we're going to move forward with item D, personnel. Pull. All right. Item E, contract list. Pull. Item F, approve software renewal for transportation. Pull. English, item G, English Language Arts, ELA, grades 6 through 8, resource adoption. Pull. Okay. Item H, Cedar Shoals renovation phase 1 GMP contract. Pull. All right, that is pulled, Ms. Palmer. Item H has been pulled. Item I, ACCA biomanufacturing lab design build contract. Item J, CMS furniture purchase. Item K, secondary behavioral supports RFP. Okay. Item L, replacement of analog cameras at 14 Elementary, 2 ELC, and an HT Edwards campus. All right. Item M, field trips. Item N, approval of Title IX coordinator for staff. Item. I had a question on N, O, and P. Okay. Mr. Denson has a question on items N, O, and P. Can you put them up to the?
And I'm hoping this is just an oversight, maybe something that was changed because of the vacancy, but I cannot find any of our Title IX coordinators or the trainings, which are have to be posted on our websites. I don't see any of these posted on our websites. So I just want to make sure that once these changes are done, that we are actually complying with all the Title IX requirements, have these things publicly posted on our website, along with the trainings that they go through.
We certainly will.
All right, Mr. Denson, I don't know if you heard that, but they said that they will post them to the website once these are approved. Are we good? Any other questions? Ms. Davis?
I'm sorry, did you say they're pulled, or are these pulled? No.
They are not currently pulled. Would you like to pull them, Mr. Denson?
No, I'm happy as long as they're going to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So item N, that's where we were at, approval of Title IX coordinator for staff. Good, okay. Item O, approval for Title IX coordinator for students. Good. And item P, approval for equal employment opportunity coordinator. Good. And last item Q, approval of job descriptions.
Pull.
Okay, so we are pulling item Q. So from my accounting, we are pulling 2 items, H and, 3 items, sorry.
C, H, and Q.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. We are pulling C, H, and Q. And C has been tabled to March. Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Palmer. All right, so we are down to item 9, executive session, and we will wrap up this meeting, this work session, and go, we don't have executive session items, so we're going to just resume our business meeting at 7 p.m. The end. Okay.
That was pretty easy.
Do we need to move to adjourn?
She's already done.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. If everyone is ready, we will get started here with our agenda for our February meeting. All right, calling the meeting to order. Item number 2, roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley, Ms. Claudia Butts,
Here.
Ms. Linda Davis,
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager,
Here.
Mr. Tim Denson,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant, Ms. Nicole Hull,
Here.
and Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
Wonderful. We will move on to item number 3. That's our silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able, please stand and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is over this way. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll have a moment of silent meditation. Okay, we will move forward with our recognitions and awards. Dr.
Moore?
Thank you. Totally blanked. Dr. Moore.
I'm glad I've made such an impression. Thank you, Dr. Hooker, and good evening, Dr. Anderson, board members. It's a busy time around CCSD, and as you can see, we have a room full of people to recognize tonight, so we'll go ahead and get started. As you may have seen last month, we had our annual district-wide spelling bee right here in this room, featuring the school-level winners from each of our 14 elementary schools and 4 middle schools, whose names you will see up on the screen. If you didn't catch that live, please be sure to head over to our YouTube channel and check it out. I want to hear back from you how many of you could spell some of those words, because I could not. Tonight, we are pleased to be joined by both our district winner and our runner-up, so please come up when I call your name. Our runner-up from Coyle Middle School is 7th grader Lisbeth Castro. Lisbeth, are you here? And our 2024 champion, and you can just stay up there, Lisbeth. Our 2024 champion from Clark Middle School is 8th grader G.J. Jamat Ramos. G.J.? You just stand on that blue dot for me. Perfect. There you go. Now, I'm going to ask the board to stand up and scooch behind while I tell you what's next for GJ. GJ will now be representing CCSD later this month in the Georgia Association of Educators Region Spelling Bee at Putnam County Middle School and will be competing for a spot in the State B. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you all. And I will tell you, I think both of these students are contenders for the national title at any time now. Now, if we could switch over to our MLK slides, Ms. Palmer. Next tonight, we'd like to recognize the winners in our 2023-24 Martin Luther King Jr. Art and Writing Contest. We received a record number of submissions this year from dozens and dozens of amazingly talented students, which made our panel of judges' jobs that much harder. We're pleased to be joined by many of the students who placed in the contest from all levels. We awarded first, second, and third places, as well as honorable mention for K through 2, 3 through 5, middle school, and high school. And those students who placed were featured in a video which premiered last month at the UGA MLK Freedom Breakfast. If you haven't already seen it, we again encourage you to visit our YouTube channel to take a look. You can also find it in the January 19th edition of the Better Together newsletter. So as I call the names of the winners, starting with high school, we'll be playing a running slideshow of all 76 entries that were submitted to the district for judging. Starting with our high school level winners, the high school art category, and again, as I call your name, come up, and our high schoolers will start back on the row where the blue tabs are. First place from Cedar Shoals, Michelle LeBlanc. Second place from Cedar Shoals, Eva Lucero. Third place from Cedar Shoals, Isaiah Moore. An honorable mention from Cedar Shoals, Davion Hampton. Now our high school writing winners. You'll have some company up there in just a minute, so just stay right there. First place from Cedar Shoals, Anaya Warner. Second place from Cedar Shoals, Percy Thompson. Third place from Cedar Shoals, Jada Hunter. An honorable mention from Cedar Shoals, Nakia Johnson. Now moving on to our middle school art winners, and you'll just take a stand right beside these students. In first place, from Bernie Harris Lyons, Dariana Looney. Second place, from Hillsman, Jaden Davis. Third place, from Clark Middle, Ollie Cook. An honorable mention from Coyle, Melvin Ramirez Calderon. Our middle school writing winners are first place from Hillsman, Traylon Johnson. Second place from Clark Middle, Olivia Trimble. Third place from Coyle, Kenya Gonzalez Chavez. An honorable mention from BHL, Caden Jones. Now let's have all you all move together a little bit closer, and we'll take one picture of our high school and middle school, and then we'll begin calling our elementary. And there we go. Way to look out for your teammate. One more picture. Now you all stay there and help our elementary school students find their place as they come up, please. Now on to our elementary school winners, starting with 3 through 5 art. In first place, from Johnny Lay Burks Elementary, Zine Hudson. Second place, from Barnett Shoals, Veda Lanham. Third place, from Barrow, Max Selick. And you can just start a line right in front of them if you like. An honorable mention from Winterville, Katarina Hancock. Zine, you can just come down right next to this group in front. There you go. Our 3 through 5 writing winners are, first place from Winterville, Nora Cooper. Second place from Timothy Road, Noah Edwards. Third place from Barrow, Sadie Smith. An honorable mention from Gaines, Jade Jackson. And finally, let's recognize our K through 2 winners, starting with art. First place from Fowler Drive, Jade Thomas. Second place from J.J. Harris, Yaritzi Gonzalez. Stand right in the middle. Perfect. Third place from Johnny Lay Burks, Dorsey Crow. An honorable mention from Timothy Road, Kenji Funato. And our writing winners, you can stand right there. Good. First place from Oglethorpe Avenue, Farron French. Second place from Fowler Drive, Kaylin Pass. Third place from J.J. Harris, Bianca Lenares Chagoya. An honorable mention from Gaines, Jake Lee Torrey. Okay, now we're going to take one big group picture, so everybody make sure that you're beside somebody and not in back so we can see everybody's face. Come up just a little. And scooch in like your friends. One more. Come on up. What's your name? Dorsey Crow. Darcy, you can go right in the middle there. Dorsey. Is that right? All right, look at Mr. Thompson. Move over just a little. And smile. All right. Now, as you leave tonight, be sure to pick up your certificate and your ribbon. And parents, teachers, principals, if you are here supporting one of these young people, would you stand up? We thank you all for supporting your students in this way, and we appreciate you all putting such thoughtfulness into your work. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing what you do next year. You may be seated. Good job. Thank you. Next tonight, we'd like to acknowledge several of our middle and high school students and staff in attendance in recognition of National FFA Week, which will be observed February 17th through the 24th. As you all know, we have a very active FFA with chapters at each of our high schools and middle schools. And we've had students win many awards at the district, state, and national levels. They got a jump start on FFA Week activities this week by meeting with Mayor Kelly Gertz at City Hall for an official proclamation, taking a visit to the State Botanical Gardens, and volunteering at the Food Bank of Northeast Georgia. We are pleased to be joined tonight by all of our chapters except BHL, which regrettably was unable to attend. As I call your chapter, please come up to the stage and remain here until all chapters have made their way up. First, the officer team from Cedar Shoals and their advisor, Ms. Julie Throne. Cedar Shoals. Many thanks to Ms. Throne and her students who also brought a little something for each of the board members to celebrate and remember FFA Week. Thank you all. The officer team from Clark Central and their advisor, Mr. Levi Carr Brooks. The officer team from Clark Middle and their advisor, Ms. Tyler Hortman. And we'll ask you to start a new row in front. Go. The officer team from Hillsman and their advisor, Mr. John Anderson. And the officer team from Coyle and their advisor, Ms. Chastity Tompkins. And if you all just want to make a second row up front in between the people behind, so you're not covering anybody up. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right, let's have you three move to the front here. 3 students, yeah. In between, and make sure you can see Scott, so he can see you. And I have to say, you all look amazing. Congratulations, and we wish you luck for your remaining competitions. You may be seated. We are next moving on to a few quick staff recognitions. We'll start with our Employee of the Month for February. Our Employee of the Month is Ms. Ashley Fagler, first grade teacher at Whit Davis Elementary. And we will ask her to come up as I read a bit about her. Is Ms. Fagler here? Yes, she's behind me. Go on up. And David Bradley from the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce. Do you want to come say a couple words? Well, you go on up and stand with Ms. Fagler while I tell everybody a little more about her. Ms. Fagler is currently serving as team lead for the first grade team at Whit Davis Elementary School. She was nominated by one of her veteran colleagues, Ms. Karen McDonald, who praised her for leading the team with composure, grace, and a calming presence, and for helping her fellow teachers feel more confident in their own abilities. She also wrote that Ms. Fagler always puts her students at ease with a welcoming smile and makes her classroom a place of peace, learning, and love. And we witnessed that yesterday when we interrupted a wonderful reading lesson with lots of chaos that we brought with us. Ms. McDonald continued, her passion for content and the well-being of her team is unmatched. She truly cares about every aspect of our school, the students and their families, the content they are learning, her teammates and their knowledge of the content, and to her school family at Whit. I have worked in Clark County for 20 years and think Ashley Fagler is one of the most amazing teachers I've ever seen. I love that I get to watch her teach and build relationships and be part of her team. I am a better teacher because of Ashley. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Fagler and welcome David Bradley, President of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, who will present you with that prize bag I told you you'd be receiving. And we'll have our board members scooch up, stay on up there, David, to come up and take a picture with our Employee of the Month. As they do that, I'd like to thank the Chamber again for their continued support of this program and remind everyone that anyone in the community can nominate any current full-time CCSD employee with at least 1 full year of service for this award. We've received many incredible nominations in February, and we look forward to receiving many more for the March Employee of the Month. Thank you, Ms. Fagler. Thank you for coming. Next, we have another very special employee to recognize, and this is one you've seen before, probably many times, Mr. Zake Gonzalez. Mr. Zake, come on up. As many of you remember, Mr. Zake, who works in our plant services warehouse, was our Employee of the Month last February. And at that time, he was starting year number 50 with CCSD. We are pleased to report that 2 days ago, on February the 6th, Mr. Zake marked his official 50th work anniversary with the Clark County School District. Tonight, Dr. Hooker, I'll ask you to join Mr. Zake and Dr. Blankenship. As Dr. Blankenship presented Mr. Zake with a plaque in appreciation for his amazing accomplishment and his lifetime dedication to CCSD. He is loved by so many employees throughout the district who always look forward to seeing his smiling face when he makes deliveries to their school. Congratulations for 50 years, and I hope to see you back in 50 more. Thank you. Do you want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I came here in 1974, and I've been in the warehouse ever since. And I take care of all my schools, the food service lady, Miss Paula, Miss Emma's over there, over on the east, and all my principals and things in here with me. And I thank y'all, and I hope I make it some more. And my beautiful wife, retired from driving school bus, she take care of y'all too. So, and Mr. Hooker up there, definitely I love him. And I thank y'all, okay?
I told you it was a busy month, but lots to celebrate. Next, we will celebrate National Career Technical Education Month, and as part of that, recognize the automotive education program at Cedar Shoals High School, led by instructor Dave Darden, and share some fantastic news with you. So I'll ask Dr. Scott, Mr. Darden, and Mr. Derricott, if you are here, come on up. This program, we're excited to announce, has received national accreditation in the area of maintenance and light repair by the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, ASE Education Foundation. To achieve this coveted recognition, the program underwent rigorous evaluation by the foundation and also received a $5,000 grant from the Georgia Department of Education to help with the industry certification process. This is tremendous news for our district and the students at Cedar Shoals who chose to participate in the program, as students will be assured of a quality education and training. And it stands to serve as a boon for our local automotive shops, who can rest assured that any prospective employee that comes out of this program will be a highly qualified applicant. Please join me in congratulating and thanking Mr. Darden and Cedar Shoals Principal, Mr. Antonio Derricott. Stay right there. Don't move. And board, I know wait, stay right there. I know I'm wearing you out tonight, but I think this is such a momentous accomplishment. I'd like to take a group picture for one more time. Getting our steps in, right? Got it? And finally, tonight, you all may be seated. Thank you again. And this is the last recognition, I promise, until next month. Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to ask Mr. John Gilbreth, Director of Facility Planning and Construction, and Dr. Garrick Askew to come forward. As you heard earlier this evening, just a couple of weeks ago, we received the fiscal year 2022 ESPLOST audit report from the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts. And we learned the good news that there was a clean result on our ESPLOST audit, meaning no detrimental findings or recommendation. Now that would be great enough, but this makes 12 consecutive years that Mr. Gilbreth and his department have achieved this honor. Dr. Hooker, will you come in? Stay right there. Let's get one with Dr. Hooker. And I hope we're not jinxing you, John. Thank you. CCSD is grateful to the community for its continued support of the local 1 cent ESPLOST program that helps the district build facilities and acquire technologies that support the educational process in our schools, both today and in the future. The district always strives to be good stewards of taxpayer money and has been consistently strong in its financial reporting. Thank you again, Mr. Gilbreth, to you and your team for your hard work, and congratulations on this tremendous accomplishment. Dr. Hooker, that concludes our comments. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Anderson and the board for any recognitions they may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. What an amazing evening of just watching all the wonderful students and staff and faculty who have done amazing work here in the district. If you are here for the awards and recognition and do not wish to stay for the business meeting, you are welcome to leave. And we will resume with the business meeting. Does anyone in the board have anything to celebrate or any announcements that they'd like to make at this time? Okay. All right, we will move on to item number 5. This is public comment. I do not believe we have received any public comment on our agenda this month, so we will move on to item number 6, to amend or adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Go.
I second.
Okay, that motion was made by Ms. Hull, seconded by Ms. Butts. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes unanimous. Oh, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to remind you that this month we're celebrating Black History Month. I encourage you to visit our website to see the various activities that are being held at our schools. So please visit our website, and if you have an opportunity, please attend one of those events. Also, February is Career Technical Agriculture Education Month, CTAE Month. It's Future Farmers of America Month, National Counseling Week, February 5th through 9th. I had an opportunity this morning to go and speak to our wonderful counselors and thank them for their service that they provide to our students. Also, February the 26th through March the 1st is Public Schools Week. February the 16th and 19th, want to remind you that it's a student and staff holiday. As Dr. Anderson reminded you of our board retreat that will be held on March the 16th from 9 to 4 p.m. If you didn't have a chance to look at the work of our MLK Writing and Art Contest winners in the atrium, please take a moment to do so before you leave. This exhibition will be up for the next couple of weeks. Many thanks to Mr. Dan Smith for doing such a great job with this exhibit. Congratulations to our STAR students and STAR teacher who were announced yesterday. Mr. Patrick Allen was the Clark Central student of the STAR student, and Mr. Elliott Slane was the STAR teacher. Mr. William Art Conway was Cedar Shoals High School's STAR student, and Mr. Brant Hacker was the STAR teacher. Mr. Patrick Allen was the overall Clark County winner, which includes students from our district as well as Athens Christian School and Monsignor Donovan Catholic High School. And lastly, earlier this week, CCSD suffered the loss of a veteran Cedar Shoals High School English teacher, Mr. Stephen Castile, who passed away unexpectedly. Mr. Castile has been a valued member of the Clark County School District teaching family since 1998 and will be greatly missed by thousands of students whose lives he impacted over the last 26 years and by his fellow faculty and staff members. Please keep Mr. Castile's family in your thoughts and prayers. That concludes my comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hooker. We will move forward with item number 8, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions, or should we go ahead and make a call for vote? Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented? Or, sorry, motion. I'd like to make a...
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Sorry, there's some... I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so that motion was made by Ms. Hull and approved by Dr. Yeager. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any opposed? So, Ms. Davis, you're okay? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you raise your hand. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So that motion is approved unanimously. And now let's move to item number 9, our action items to discuss. First up is item A, Cedar Shoals renovation phase 1 GMP contract. Are there any questions? Ms. Davis?
So I really don't have questions, but it's such a large expenditure, and it's a kind of a, what do you call it, milestone event to start the renovation of a major high school after so long. And so I wanted us to make sure that the community is aware that this renovation is taking place so that we can really appreciate the magnitude of this project. So I felt like it should have a separate vote.
Okay, wonderful. Are there any other questions or comments before we, all right. Would someone like to make a motion to vote to approve Cedar Shoals renovation phase 1 GMP contract?
I moved that we vote to approve the contract.
I second.
All right, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Butts. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful, that is approved unanimously. All right, item B, approval of job descriptions. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Ms. Davis.
I do, thank you, and forgive the indulgence here. I just want to understand, like, the particular job description for entertainment, sports, and event management teacher reports to a director, and I would like to know which director that is and where does this job actually reside?
Yes, ma'am. That is the director of the Athens Community Career Academy. So all of our other job descriptions for teachers say principal, but we don't call the leader of that particular program a principal. They're a director, but that's their direct supervisor.
So do we have a career pathway already established for this position?
This is a new career pathway that will be coming on board next fall.
Next fall. And this is directly aimed at students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and preparing them for this particular profession down the road.
Correct.
I'm excited to hear that. Thank you. The next one is on the biotech teacher. I believe that is also a report to the director at the Career Academy.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And what is the reach? What is the significance of the reach teachers and the new tiered approach to teaching and learning in that environment? Who is the target audience for that?
Our students. These are new roles, new teacher and paraprofessional roles. They are not additional headcount. They're just new responsibilities that individuals will have through our opportunity culture, and they will be primarily in our completely in our opportunity culture schools.
So will this be K through 6, 7, 8? What is it? Middle school, elementary, or high school, or all of the above?
So we have 4 schools. We have an elementary, a middle, actually 2 elementary, a middle, and 1 high school. So Timothy Road and Winterville are our elementary schools. Bernie Harris Lyons is our middle school, and Clark Central is our high school.
So, I'm sorry, the
Ms.
2 elementary
Davis?
were
Ms.
Timothy and
Davis?
what else? I'm sorry.
Can I ask you to pause and open up the floor for others to ask questions, and then we can circle back to you? Is that okay?
You know, I do that every time. I apologize. Please forgive me, colleagues. If you have questions, I will stop asking them.
Does anyone else have any questions before I circle back to? Okay. All right, Ms. Davis, if you'd like to continue.
Okay, I think I'm good. This helps a lot. So are these schools that have been selected, I do have one other question. Are these schools that have been selected for this also participating in other special type of, I would say, enhancements or new trials or programs that they're trialing, or is this brand new for these schools?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that, but I'll answer about opportunity culture and these positions. This is a strategic staffing model for these schools. So it is done within their current allocations.
Okay, thank you. And again, I don't question whether or not they're paid for. I'm confident of that. But I'm just looking at, in terms of equity, we bring sometimes special programs on that are really designed to enhance the learning experience for our kids. And I just want to understand or have a sense that we are equitably spreading those opportunities across all of our schools.
Thank you for that clarification. All of our schools had an opportunity to opt into the opportunity culture model. These 4 schools made the choice to opt in this year. All of our schools continue to have that opportunity. So if additional schools want to become an opportunity culture school next year, we certainly will support them along that path.
Thank you so very much.
All right, does anyone else have any questions about this item? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with a call for a vote. I need to make a motion. So I'm making a motion.
I move that we approve the job descriptions as presented for the targeted people.
Second.
All right, that motion was made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Dr. Yeager. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Approved unanimously. Okay, we are now at item 10. That is adjourn. We are? Oh, the financial report. We are still in item 9. Financial report. Does anyone have any questions?
I move that we accept the financial report.
Second.
All right, that motion to approve the financial report made by Ms. Hall, seconded by Mr. Evans. Let's get a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposition? Ms. Davis?
No, I approve.
Okay, all right. It was kind of a delayed raised hand. I wasn't quite sure. I want to make sure I captured that. Okay, so that motion is approved unanimously. And now we will move to item number 10, to adjourn.
So moved. I move that we adjourn. So moved. I didn't think you heard me. I move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:38 p.m. I second.
Motion made by Ms. Hall, seconded by Ms. Butts. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I didn't get to vote. I don't want to go. I want to stay with y'all.
Oh, I need a vote. All in favor?